guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks from the basement of things where we are hidden.
No.
Leah said something real fancy earlier, and I couldn't remember what it was. But
welcome to the underground
resistance
broadcasting
network.
You will now know why we are called the Resistance Chicks,
right?
Because if you are receiving this broadcast, you are part of the resistance.
You are. Because
as the chaos engulfs the globe, and as the globalists scream and run and start slashing people's throats right and left, willy-nilly slashing their own throats, slashing each other's throats.
Wow.
So I gotta hand it to the Democrats because they keep walking into a wall and banging their head against the wall. And then
it's painful.
all the other Democrats come to them.
It's like zombification.
And they pad their forehead, right?
Okay, yeah.
And they say, "Go ahead, keep doing it."
Right.
They're harming each other. They're harming themselves. And at what point do we straitjacket them and put them in rubber rooms? Because every time you think they will have, it's like when your parents say, don't put your hand on the stove, and you're like, well, why not? And you put your hand on the stove and it burns, and you realize it. So we're saying don't make up these baseless lies and smears against Trump.
Right.
It's going to backfire on you. So right now, the biggest loser of what is happening, if you have your head under a rock, you've come to the right place. We're going to try to break things down. But if you don't know what's going on, go back and watch our show we did on Wednesday. Catch yourself up and then rewatch this show. Because we got too much to go and delve into. Because too much has happened in 24 hours.
It's been 48 since Wednesday.
Well, I know, but not much happened in that 24 hours. And a lot has happened in the next 24 hours. Or I would have gone live yesterday. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Okay, we're in the middle of a civil war, and it happened in the last 24 hours. You know who joined the wrong side? You know who joined the empire? Tulsi Gabbard. And here we thought she was the only sane Democrat left. She was she went on Fox News. Fox News is the only person that has her on. She learned. I saw something change in that girl's face. Okay, and I was waiting for her moment because there is no way you can get to that level and not be sucked in, especially if you're not a full-blown Christian filled with the Holy Ghost and the power of God. Okay? And even Trump got sucked in on a lot of things, hiring a lot of neocons and war people.
It happens to them all.
Okay, so Tulsi's like, I changed my mind. I think that I read the transcript and we need to go forward with impeachment of this president.
So, and here's the thing that these people don't understand what the articles of impeachment, what they are for. And it's kind of like a Chicken Little moment. And so moving forward, if there ever is a president that does commit an impeachable offense, it really just nullifies that. I mean, it takes it down to nothing because we've now made a joke and a circus of what this process is supposed to really be.
Here's the thing, y'all, none of us were ever supposed to see those transcripts. That's presidential privilege in the first place.
Right.
Okay? Do you know, all the way down to whenever they invented the telephone, presidents be saying stuff on the phone that be against the law. Okay? There are so many laws in this country. Now, there's no quid pro quo there. They were upset that Trump asked the Ukrainian government to look into Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son. Most importantly, Joe Biden's son. Joe Biden sat on a stage and said, I told those Ukrainians I'm holding back $1.4 billion unless you fire an attorney general. Well,
that's looking into my son.
Wouldn't he need to be impeached before he can even run at this point? Like, he needs to be impeached from being vice president.
Right. Okay, sure. I mean, can you
posthumously
impeach somebody?
Yes, you can.
Well, then why didn't that happen to Nixon?
Well, because he resigned, everyone's like, well, we're back off now.
I'm just saying.
Okay, that was his, he didn't want to be impeached, so he resigned. They give you two choices a lot of times. So I guess, I'm going to quote Bill O'Reilly.
Okay, go ahead.
And now, here's the thing. This is a civil war, and you're seeing, and I've always known that people at Fox News and like Chris Wallace and Shepard Smith and all these people, they're neocons. I can't stand Chris Wallace as far as I could throw him, okay? And Chris Wallace is like, there's stuff there for impeachment.
Oh
like, there really is. I think that we need to go forward. I really do. Seriously, high crimes, okay? Is there a dead body? and misdemeanors, like, Trump did not break the law. Did he did he write a bad check? He knew he didn't have enough money in that bank account, and he wrote a check.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, something that can be prosecuted in the court of law.
Okay, so
high crimes. High crimes.
Here's the deal.
Wait, before you finish.
Okay.
Newt Gingrich, and I don't like him as much as I can throw him either, but he presided over the Clinton impeachment. And he said, we had an inspector general report that had criminal referrals and 7 counts against Clinton.
Wow.
And it started from a sexual harassment case from Paula Jones.
Right.
And then Monica Lewinsky got brought up into it. Clinton did lie under oath, and he lied to the American people.
Exactly.
Okay, and these were all things. I mean, these were prosecutable crimes. And on top of that, Clinton was disbarred for his crimes.
Right.
There
was a legal action that was taken against him.
Yeah, he literally broke the law.
Right.
And so he probably, in my opinion, he should have been impeached in the Senate as well. But he wasn't. But I'm saying that here's the thing, they want an impeachment inquiry to something that is not even there. The impeachment inquiry was started because of the Paula Jones sexual harassment cases.
Yeah.
Okay, there's been no real case against Donald Trump. And as far as this whistleblower, he shouldn't be called a whistleblower, because whistleblower has to have a first-hand account. This guy has second and third-hand accounts. I'm going to show you some clips here that say that the whistleblower didn't come and say, I have this information and I need to bring this specific information forward.
Right.
Saying, I heard this from this. It is written out like a legal brief. I'm going to play you a video of Mark Levin talking about it. It's written out by a legal brief. Lawyers put this together. And it's believed to be one of John Brennan's CIA guys that are in there. They're going to find out who he is. His lawyer is Chuck Schumer, and Clinton lawyer. Yeah. Okay. This is a political hit job. Right. Against Donald Trump.
So before you move on, I want to break something down for those of you that don't understand. The way that the legal process, or not legal, the way that the government in the United States works is the president is the highest office in the land. Okay.
Right. He can pardon himself.
Legally, he is the one that can ask Ukraine to look into Joe Biden's son, and Joe Biden himself, who has literal illegal processes and proof that has happened. There's something way nefarious going on there. And so you can't just say, well, just because you're running for a second office and that guy is running against you, it's a conflict of interest, so you can't do your job as president. All right. Okay, they can't do that. The president has the highest legal authority above the Senate, above Congress, above anyone to ask another nation to investigate something
that already has an underlying crime to it.
Exactly.
And this is why.
This isn't, hey, go get some dirt on a political opponent of mine.
No, because here's the thing. And I just lost it.
I'm sorry. All right. What do you got from Hannity here?
What were you saying? Because it was kind of important.
That the president has every legal right to ask the Ukraine to look into something that has illegally happened, or probably illegally happened. Yeah, it already has a criminal element to it.
Come up with it.
Said, "Can I talk to you as a father?"
What happened here? We're not.
Is it not turned on? I don't think I ever turned it on.
I think there might be a little battery or something.
Well, we can just plug it in. Oh, there it goes. We'll plug it in anyway.
Okay, so John Solomon has a 400-some-odd page document report in which he released last night, and it shows that the Attorney General that was looking into Joe Biden's son, he was asked by the government to step down because they said, we're receiving pressure from Joe Biden.
Yeah. From the Ukrainian government. This is a Ukrainian.
And we're going to lose $1.4 billion, so we need you to step down.
And he did, and he said that he did it for the good of his country.
Right.
Well, maybe that would have been different. But he used our money to get a Ukrainian prosecutor fired who was investigating his son, and even the New York Times warned him, and he tried many times to get this guy fired and eventually succeeded when he said, you got 6 hours. Oh, son of a bee, they fired him. According to multiple sources, as vice president, 2014, Biden was appointed point person by Obama in Ukraine. A few months later, Joe's son, Hunter, scored a lucrative position on the board of Burisma Holdings. That is Ukrainian oil and gas giant. Well, Hunter Biden was paid millions of dollars for consultancy fees, but he had no experience in oil, gas, energy, or no experience with Ukraine that anybody can find. In November 2015, Joe Biden was told by the New York Times his son's under investigation by Ukrainian authorities. December 2015, Joe Biden made his first request to the president of Ukraine to fire the leading prosecutor looking into the investigation of Burisma Holdings and the relationship with Hunter Biden. In March of 2016, John Solomon reports Biden knew this prosecutor was again investigating his son. That's when Biden leveraged your money, $1 billion taxpayer.
Speaking of Burisma Holdings, this electric company, this energy company,
right?
Mitt Romney has he sought Donald Trump's endorsement to run for a Senate, and he got it, and he's been against Trump ever since. And on this particular thing with the impeachment and looking into it, he's like, well, we got to look into it, blah, 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 blah. You know why? Because one of his campaign advisors sits on that Burisma board.
Wow. It's all linked together.
Forced the Ukrainian president to fire the prosecutor in 6 hours. That would be a billion reasons why he had to. And Biden claims the prosecutor was corrupt, and that's why he wanted him to go. He wants you to believe the $1 billion quid pro quo had nothing to do with the son's company. Thanks to John Solomon, breaking news tonight, we now have evidence that Biden is likely lying through his teeth. Here with the full report, investigative reporter, Executive Vice President of the Hill, John Solomon. Why don't I just let you go through, first of all, explain to this audience how many documents we have and what these documents are and what you have gleaned from them.
Over the course of 18 months, I've gathered more than 450 pages of documents. These come from 4 sources.
John Solomon has been looking into this for 18 months.
And so President Trump,
all of a sudden, I think that they got wind that John Solomon was onto something, and they're like, we've got to get ahead of this. The same thing with the Russian collusion story. They knew that what they did with Christopher Steele was wrong and against the law.
Exactly.
So they had to pin it on Trump, and they kept dabbling it again, and more and more and more and more and more.
State Department, the Ukraine Prosecutor General's office, the Ukraine Embassy in Washington, D.C., and the legal team representing Burisma during the time that Hunter Biden was employed as a board member and consultant at that natural gas company in Ukraine. So that is the body of documents. These documents show, as I report tonight for the first time, that the very day that Joe Biden managed to get that Ukraine prosecutor, Mr. Shokin, fired, that very day, his son's company's lawyers, the American lawyers helping Hunter Biden's Burisma company try to fight this investigation, were trying urgently to reach the new prosecutor, the replacement prosecutor. 1 week later, they managed to get that meeting. They're in Ukraine less than a week after Biden fires the prosecutor. And in that meeting, according to the official record of the meeting from the prosecutors, the lawyers for Hunter Biden's company and the lobbyists for Hunter Biden's company stated to the replacement prosecutor, we know that the information calling Mr. Shokin corrupt and inept was, quote, false information, close quote, distributed by U.S. government officials and other figures. We are sorry for that. We would like to make this up to you by bringing you to Washington or connecting you with the Obama administration officials so you can tell them the true story, that you did have a legitimate investigation against Burisma and you were not corrupt and you had instigated numerous reforms. That is the official record of the meeting Ukrainian prosecutors kept. A few days later, Hunter Biden's American lawyers, the lawyers representing Hunter Biden's company, Burisma, sent a follow-up email trying to make good on their promise to bring these new prosecutors to Washington to explain the dirty tricks campaign that had been run against Mr. Shokin and to clear the air. If Joe Biden forced the firing of this prosecutor on the grounds that he was corrupt, and Hunter Biden's lawyers go and say that was false information, somebody's not telling the truth. We need to get to the bottom of that.
I want to, this is important here because what you're outlining here are facts. You have documents to back all this up. You have 450
I posted the documents. People can go read the documents.
Okay. Yes. Burisma American legal reps met with Ukrainian officials days after Biden forced the firing of the chief prosecutor. You interviewed the chief prosecutor. The chief prosecutor told you, told ABC, told the Washington Post. And by the way, it's obvious. In 6 hours, fire the guy, or I'm taking $1 billion home. Oh, son of a bee, they fired him. Why would a Vice President, John Solomon, of the United States of America want a prosecutor in Ukraine fired?
Listen, it's an internal matter, right? And corruption's been endemic to Ukraine. Why was this a 6-hour urgency? Lots of questions. But let's go to something that's new today, Sean. Tonight, I posted for the first time a sworn affidavit obtained by lawyers for a Ukrainian oligarch. It's about to be introduced in a court in Europe. It's from Mr. Shokin, the man who was fired, the prosecutor I interviewed, the Washington Post interviewed, ABC interviewed. In that statement, Mr. Shokin swears under oath he was told he was fired because he refused to drop the Burisma investigation, and it made Mr. Biden, the vice president, unhappy. We have to find out who's telling the truth. This is at the core of the credibility of our United States government. Either Joe Biden's telling the truth, or the prosecutors in these memos and Hunter Biden's legal team are not telling the truth. We have to find out which one is, because it matters to American sovereignty.
Is it a true statement that, like with the Russia conspiracy hoax and lies, that the boomerang was in effect, that the only Russian interference would be Hillary's dirty dossier, that everything they've accused Trump of that he didn't do, basically they did do? Is that pretty similar here?
Yes.
Well, listen, I think there a lot of people look at this evidence. I'm going to stay neutral, but a lot of people I talk to say it looks like the Democrats are projecting on Donald Trump what they actually did themselves in Eastern.
So I'm going to go here to let's see.
There were a billion reasons they fired the guy in 6 hours, wasn't it?
Well, we've known from the very beginning that Mr. Shokin was not a corrupt prosecutor. We've known that he was removed from office under pressure from Vice President Biden because he was investigating the vice president's son and because of his vice president's connection to Burisma Holdings. This is so clear and so obvious, and it is precisely why the Democrats have undertaken this new move against the President of the United States with this corrupt allegation that there was something wrong with a phone call with the President of Ukraine. This is ridiculous. And the reason the Democrats have undertaken this offensive is to protect Vice President Biden. Unfortunately for them, John Solomon and the work that he's done and the official records that are now available are going to really shoot a hole in their ship.
Victoria, we've got less than a minute in this segment. I will hold you both to the next segment. Get your initial thoughts on this.
Well, I have here in my hand the statement of Viktor Shokin, and in it he goes into detail about how Poroshenko, the then president, said, please drop this case, drop the case, and he said, no, I refuse to do it, and Poroshenko said, yes, but Joe Biden's holding up over $1 billion for us. Will you resign for the good of your country? Look at it as a patriotic thing to do. And he did. But, and I want to get to this when we go to the other side, Sean, how he was falsely framed by people in Eastern Europe.
Stay right there. Joe DeGenova, Victoria Tunstey.
Says InfoWars spoke of this years ago. The MSM are just now catching up 4 years later. And it's not. They all knew about it. They didn't care. They actually, this is what we talked about on Wednesday. They went ahead and put Biden forward, but they were like, you know, kind of duck and covering because they knew these kinds of things are going to come out. There's probably more. I mean, when you're a corrupt person, you leave a trail of corruption behind you. And that's what Joe Biden is.
Yeah, and Hillary Clinton is implicated in Ukraine as well.
This whistleblower needs to go to prison. He doesn't need to be feted. He needs to go to prison.
Sean,
Victoria.
I want to jump in here too, and just on this false statements. How did that work? U.S. and other people made false statements about him. Yeah, that was George Soros-funded NGOs who were also in bed with the State Department. They were in bed with each other during that time in the name of anti-corruption, and it really means that Soros goes after his competitors. Now, let me bring this full circle. This is my last point here. The whistleblower sprinkles throughout his document footnotes referring to a publication with the initials OOCRP. One guess, Sean, who funds OOCRP? George Soros.
Wow. All right, Joe.
Soros' dirty money is all over this story from day one.
And all over Ukraine, and he still has embedded people at the State Department.
We have a lot of ground to cover in the days to come. Thank you.
Because this is ridiculous. She has the Uranium One whistleblower who Congress does not want to have anything to do with, Republican or Democrat, because they implicate Hillary Clinton in some really shady deals, and she has facts. He wasn't just a first-hand witness. He was running these operations. He was running the money,
and nobody wants to touch Hillary Clinton. And
that's what
I see is I see this whole thing is going to unravel, and they are shooting themselves not just in the foot, in the heart, by going after Trump. Because like we talked about on Wednesday, or I don't even know if we mentioned this on Wednesday, but if they actually do move forward with this impeachment process, and Trump has to have Giuliani literally mount a defense, he's going to be allowed to call in any witness and under oath. And so Hillary Clinton, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, anyone from the moon is going to have to be under oath. They will lie, but at least they will have lied under oath.
But here's the thing. It is like asking the British to prosecute themselves for crimes. There is nobody in the State Department or the DOJ at the highest levels or the FBI at the highest levels that has the heart to do this. Now, I believe that William Barr does. However, I'm going to show you some videos. That is why they're going after William Barr's. They're saying Nancy Pelosi, oh, he's turned. He's one of them. He is one of them. He's one of the good guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to play a little more snippet here from Devin Nunes here last night, and then we're going to move on, not to another subject, because we're all going about our day. I walked some dogs today. I was out in the sunshine. I just, I fed my pigs. I was going about this, and then I get to the computer. Tulsi Gabbard's on impeachment ban. They're going forward, even though it's been proven that all this is crazy and false. And you got Chris Wallace and Fox News now.
I don't want to interrupt you, but the transcripts have been released. There is nothing in them. There are no secrets. You can't have a whistleblower if they're saying, I've got information from this phone call, when the actual transcript has been released. You've got nothing. You've got bupkis.
Well, Paul Ryan sits on the board of Fox News and this is in Breitbart today, has told Fox News to part from Trump.
I know.
How is that even going to keep Fox News afloat?
Joe, the gentleman, Victoria, debunked, just like the Russia hoax, which you pointed out is almost identical. And yet we have all this information revealed by John Solomon. Your take?
Well, thanks, Sean, for the kind words. But the bottom line is this was a sad, sad day for America. You're seeing the destruction of one of America's finest institutions, the U.S. Congress. If it can't get any lower, it got it even lower today. And so it doesn't make me proud to be in there today. I mean, it was really miserable for us to sit there and watch the other side actually fabricate statements that they assign to the United States president.
And now I'm going to play that for you because Adam Schiff ran this interview that they had, not interview, but this grilling of with these guys here, and they were trying to talk about Donald Trump. Now I'm trying to find, maybe it's over here. Let's see. Nope, that was not it. That one's not it. I am going to find it. I can just Google Adam Schiff here. I'm going to play this for you just a little bit.
Before you play that, let me
Here
go.
we go. I found it.
Okay. As soon as I go to do something else, she finds it. It helps you find things, I think.
I think so. So, Adam Schiff. Michelle and I read the transcript, or parts of the transcript.
I listened to the entire transcript read by, and that's what I wanted to play, by Glenn Beck and
you read that, play that first, and then we'll play. Are we playing the entire transcript?
No, just part of it, just so they can get an idea of it's actually not a parody. It's the actual transcript. Granted, the guy is a Trump impersonator, but Glenn Beck is impersonating Zelensky, and so you get a real feel of what the phone call would be like. But this is the exact transcript that they are reading from, word for word here. So I'm going to play this. I'm not going to make it bigger. I'm going to leave it.
Oh, tremendous. Hello. How are you?
Mr. President.
Hello. Listen. Yes, it's me, the greatest president in the history of presidents. Listen, congratulations on your great victory. You know, we watched here from the United States, and you did a terrific job. Terrific job. The way you came from behind, somebody who wasn't really given a chance, I have to tell you. You ended up winning easily. Fantastic achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, you're absolutely right, Mr. President. We did win big here. You know, we worked very hard for this. We worked a lot, but I'd like to confess that we had an opportunity to learn from you. We used quite a few of your skills and knowledge, and we were able to use it as an example for our elections. And yes, it is true that it was a unique election. You know what I'm saying? I think I should run more often, so you can call me more often. We can talk on the phone more often, you know? Ha, 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 ha.
That's it. That's a very good idea, I have to tell you. I think your country is very happy about that.
Well, yes, I have to tell you the truth. We are trying to work hard because we want to drain the swamp here in our own country, you know? We brought in many new people, not old politicians, not typical politicians, because we want to have a new kind of format, new type of government. And you are a great teacher for us in that.
Well, it's very nice that you say so.
Yes.
And I say that we do a lot for the Ukraine. You know, we spend a lot of effort and time, much more than European countries are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are. Germany does almost nothing for you.
Yes.
All they do is talk, and I think it's something that you should really ask them about. You know, when I was speaking to Angela Merkel, she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't do anything.
Nothing.
A lot of the European countries are the same way. So I think it's something you want to look at. But the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that's a reciprocal necessarily, because things are happening that are not good. But the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine.
You know, you're absolutely right, Mr. President. Not only 100%, but actually 1,000%. And I can tell you the following. I did talk to Angela Merkel. I met with her and also met and talked with Macron, the Frenchman, and I told them what they're doing, not quite as much as they need to be doing on issues with sanctions. You know, the European Union should be our biggest partner, but technically, United States, bigger partner than European Union. And I'm grateful, very grateful to you, because United States doing quite a lot for Ukraine. You know, I'd also like to thank you for your great support in area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for next steps. Specifically, we're almost ready to buy more javelins from United States for defense purposes.
Great, that's fantastic. Well, I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows all about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say that CrowdStrike. I guess that's you'll leave one of your wealthy people. The server, they say Ukraine has it. There's a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. I would like to have the Attorney General call you and your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
As you saw yesterday, the whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller.
Not a good
An
guy.
incompetent performance. But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible.
But yes, very important to me, and everything you mentioned earlier. For me as president, very important that we are open for any future cooperation. You know what I'm saying here? We are ready to be opening new page on cooperation in relations between United States and Ukraine. For that purpose, I just recalled our ambassador from United States. He'll be replaced by a very competent, very experienced ambassador who will work very hard, making sure that our two nations are getting closer. Wink, wink. I also wanted to assure you once again that you have nobody but friends around us. I will make sure I surround myself with best, most experienced people. I want to tell you that you and we are friends. We are great friends, you and me, Mr. President. And we have friends in country that we can continue our strategic partnership. Wink, wink. I also plan to surround myself with great people in addition to that investigation. But I guarantee, as President of Ukraine, that all investigations will be done openly and candidly. That I can assure you.
Good, because I heard that you had a prosecutor who was very good and they shut that down, and that was really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that, the way they shut down your very good prosecutor and highly respected man. He was a good prosecutor, and you have some very bad people in
bad people.
Mr. Giuliani is highly respected. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you along with the Attorney General. Rudy very much knows what's happening. Yes. He's a very capable guy. Yes. And if you could speak to him, that would be great. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman was bad news. The people she was dealing with in Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know. Well, I want to let you know that. The other thing is there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with Attorney General Barr would be great.
Okay.
Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into that, you know, it sounds horrible to me.
Well, I want to tell you about prosecutor. First of all, I am in understanding, wink, wink, and knowledgeable about situation. Since we have one absolute majority in Parliament, next prosecutor general be 100% my people. One candidate who will be approved by Parliament and will start as prosecutor in September. And I would kindly ask you, if you have any additional information you can provide to us, it'd be very helpful for the investigation. Make sure that we administer justice in our country. Wink, wink.
Well, I will have Mr. Giuliani give you a call, and I'm also going to have Attorney General Bill Barr call, and we will get to the bottom of this.
So, there you go.
All right, so now you've that is exactly how Trump would talk to anybody.
Right.
Nothing surprises me there whatsoever.
Right.
He's talking to the guy in Ukraine who won a 73% majority.
Now, if they miss our show on Wednesday.
Yeah, Volodymyr Zelensky. He was an actor.
Of a TV show?
Playing a part.
Well, okay.
The guy who becomes prime minister.
Right, I think we kept saying president, but it is prime minister in Ukraine.
I think so. Or president.
We say president now.
I don't know. But here's the thing. That's exactly how you would expect a Trump conversation to go. They probably all sound that way.
Right.
And he's talking about issues that pertain to the Ukraine. If he did not talk about Biden and Hunter Biden, the fact that our own government tried to or did blackmail the Ukrainian government, that would be the number one thing that you would talk to them. So this is Adam Schiff opening up his intelligence committee hearing, and he's supposedly reading from Trump's transcript.
Of what the president communicates. We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that. I'm going to put you in touch with people, and not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him, trust me. You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked. This is, in sum and character, what the president was trying to communicate.
Okay. He literally you cannot start a committee hearing by making things up.
Right.
Okay? Benny says, wow, my jaw is on the floor. Intelligence Committee Adam Schiff just fabricated out of thin air the contents of the Trump phone call. Not a word he says here was in it. This is unhinged. Okay? Unhinged.
So Wolf Robinson says his first words were not, "This is exact." He said, "This is my take on what was said." And that's the thing, though. It doesn't matter if he's saying, "This is my take on what he said." Your job is to say, "This is what was said," not my take. This person, Adam Schiff, is filtering it through a biased opinion. It's a hearing. You're not supposed to be biased. Exactly. You're supposed to present the facts.
It's called hearsay. That would be
How
called
about
hearsay.
This is what was said, and read that and say, the way that I interpret that, because I don't like the president, is that he said this. But at some point, you have to present the facts.
Imagine how bankrupt, twisted, and corrupt you must be to sit before the live TV cameras and the world and fabricate a dozen quotes from the President of the United States, all while chairing the House Intelligence Committee. Furthermore, you have the transcript right in front of you. Okay? So Trump says, Representative Adam Schiff fraudulently read to Congress. And many people didn't know. He had to come back and say, well, I assume that you would know that it...
Well, it's like the show you did the other day, though. Some people thought you were serious about the climate kids. You should have started.
But I wasn't holding a hearing.
Yeah. Exactly.
On it in front of the entire world, trying to impeach the president.
Exactly. I just recovered that and give it away. We were given this fidget pen, and Leah always loses her marbles like Nancy, and then I found it, and now you dropped it. You dropped it. No, and you're gonna lose them again.
Okay.
She can't hold on to her marbles.
Okay, Trump. Representative Adam Schiff fraudulently read to Congress with millions of people watching, and that was the key. Millions of people did not read the script.
Right.
He read it like this is what Trump said.
Right.
He didn't say. And he was in front of millions of people.
Right.
The title of my live stream was, or did they?
I know.
Okay, so.
Right. I'm giving you a hard time.
A version of my conversation with the president of Ukraine that doesn't exist. He was supposedly reading the exact transcript version of the call, but he completely changed the words to make it sound horrible and me sound guilty. He was desperate and he got caught. Adam Schiff therefore lied to Congress and attempted to defraud the American public. He has been doing this for years. I am calling for him to immediately resign from Congress based on this fraud. He's been doing this for 2 years. He is a sick man. What else has Schiff fabricated? He's also the guy behind the Russian hoax.
Right.
So let's see. On another note, we're going to keep going around this because this is where the Democrats are circling their wagons, so we've got to circle with them. Putin is wondering, well, I'm never going to call you again. Because
any world leader is going to think I'm never going to call you again. I mean, if you're the president of the United States and you're talking to a world leader anywhere around the world, that phone call should be confidential.
Volodymyr Zelensky didn't know that they were going to release his side of it.
They thought that he was just going to release Trump's.
And that's not fair to any world leader for it to just be released.
Right.
So with the Democrats going all in with a rare impeachment process For the fourth time ever in American history, it appears Moscow couldn't resist the opportunity to troll, while also perhaps legitimately slamming what is a deeply unusual practice in foreign relations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's office is said to be bristling over the embarrassing release of the Trump call. And I would be embarrassed too.
Yeah.
This is a call. I just won. You're loose. You're talking to the president. Things are rolling off your lips. And English is not your first language. Which, of course, means Kremlin officials have grabbed the popcorn to sit back and enjoy the show. The Kremlin says it hopes the U.S. will not release the transcripts of Vladimir Putin's calls with Donald Trump after a whistleblower claimed the White House was hiding records of the U.S. president's phone conversations with foreign leaders. Spokesman for the President Putin's office, Dmitry Peskov, told the reporters on Friday that Russia would, of course, like to hope that we won't get that kind of situation in our bilateral relations, which are already full of extremely serious problems. As this practice is fairly unusual as a rule. Materials from conversations between world leaders are usually classified secret or top secret and not published. Meanwhile, Politico reported Thursday that the White House annoyed and embarrassed Ukraine's president by releasing comments in the private conversation with Donald Trump.
But, okay, so yes, but we saw how Zelensky was talking to the president at the press conference saying, listen, I wasn't pressured, I wasn't pressed. You know, he was totally comfortable and cool with it. The fact that the conversation was, it was a nothing burger. There was nothing there to be embarrassed about.
So he was embarrassed over the attitude of fawning over Trump. But the president just called you, and I would be fawning as well. So there is that. Let's see. All right, so Donald Trump has some words to say. Bloomberg has published since confirming reports in the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times. Bloomberg has obtained video from a private meeting between President Trump and 50 American diplomats where a freewheeling, free-speaking President Trump cracked jokes about Adam Schiff and Joe Biden and declared that whoever leaked the information about the Ukraine call to the whistleblower is close to a spy. He was typically off the cuff style. He declared that we are at war.
Because that's close to a spy. I want to know who's the person that gave the whistleblower. Who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy. You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? With spies and treason, right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
Now, here's the thing. Yeah, he's joking. He's saying we do handle it differently.
And then you have Sleepy Joe Biden, who's dumb as a rock. Then it turns out that they had senators, Democrat senators, that went over there and strong-armed the guy. You better damn well do this or you're not going to get any money from Congress. Oh, I see. That's okay. And then you have Sleepy Joe Biden, who's dumb as a rock. This guy was dumb on his best day. And he's not having his best day right now. He's dumb as a rock. So you have Sleepy Joe, and he goes up, and his kid, who's got a lot of problems, got thrown out of the Navy for problems. I mean, look, I'm not going to, it's a problem. That's a problem. So we won't get into it.
Drug addict.
He got thrown out of the Navy. And now this kid goes into Ukraine, walks away with millions of dollars, and he becomes a consultant for $50,000 a month. And he doesn't know anything compared to anybody in this room.
That's really true.
It is.
He was totally incompetent for the job, which goes to show you that he was just a puppet. And that's why I think, and that's why I said on Wednesday's show, I think Biden was getting some of that money.
He also says, you know, these animals in the press, they're animals. Some of the worst human beings you'll ever meet. They're scum. Many of them are scum. They are actually scum. They are definitely scum. So we're gonna get to that. Okay, so we talked about this.
Gentleman from Arizona. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know what? We're gonna talk about guns later. You can stop.
Well, and Trump keeps saying on all of his videos, like, I'm trying to talk to Nancy Pelosi about gun control, like their number one topic. No one will talk to me. I can't get anything done because they're so busy wasting the American people's time. You do realize that these people are paid to do a job. And so far, since 2016, not even 17, their sole job has been to try to get Trump out of the first 4 years of his presidency. They failed at that. Now they're trying to get him out of the next 4 years of his presidency because he will be elected in 2020. They are getting paid to do nothing.
So here we have Jake Tapper calling us just a bunch of an army of trolls.
Oh my gosh.
Pointed out, Sabrina, that Nixon had a much better legal apparatus to defend him, and Bill Clinton did as well during their impeachments, than President Trump has. But President Trump has something that Nixon did not have. He has Fox News. He is an army of trolls. He has websites that will defend anything he says or does. And that could very well come into play. They are already coming to his defense.
That would be us, but not because we don't just come to Trump. And a lot of sites don't just defend Trump willy-nilly. But when was the last time CNN had anything good to say about Trump?
Exactly.
And when was the last time they had anything bad to say about Obama?
Right.
So there's the hypocrisy note of the day. So here's Nancy Pelosi, the speaker who tried to launch an impeachment inquiry without a House vote, thinks the Attorney General has gone rogue for upholding the law.
I do think the Attorney General has gone rogue. He has for a long time now. And since he was mentioned in all of this, it's curious that he would be making decisions about how the complaint would be handled.
Was that too loud?
Well, Renaud B keeps saying that the videos are really, really loud and we're soft and they're having to do a constant adjustment.
I can turn it down, actually.
Well, but I asked you to, and you always like them loud.
But that was slower.
This is what happens. There's a microphone right here, and there's a speaker, and it sits next to the microphone. So that's why the videos are louder than we are, because if we were here, we'd be louder too. Does that make sense?
I can turn it louder. I was just thinking you couldn't hear it at that point. All right, so here's Jesse Waters.
Thriller novel, and it reads like it was professionally teed up by a conspiracy inside the White House trying to destroy the president before the president destroys them. Remember the context about this. Bill Barr, Durham, and these investigators are about to blow up the entire Spygate cabal. They're about to name names, and this whole thing is about to unravel. So before they do, this is the intelligence community again striking back at Bill Barr and Donald Trump. This is warfare now, because if you read the complaint, this is stuff that's so detailed and so comprehensive and so sophisticated and coming from so many different sources at so many different levels. This has to be an organized cabal of people inside selling this guy the bill of goods, so then he gives it to the Democrats because it reads like a thriller. This doesn't come out of thin air. And there's no guessing why Bill Barr is specifically named in this whistleblower complaint. And it's because they need to discredit him before this thing is released. And you're going to hear also requests for him to recuse himself from not only the Ukraine investigation, but also the Spygate investigation. This is what this is all about. This is sick, and it's no coincidence that Adam Schiff is running this operation again. He's been totally humiliated. Remember, he was on a phone call trying to get naked pictures of Donald Trump in a prank phone call before that was exposed. The networks took this live all day, interrupted regular programming. Huge mistake. The thing had no energy. And remember, this guy, Adam Schiff, was the one that said he had proof that there was Russia collusion. And he never produced it. Now he's saying he has proof that there is a quid pro quo. He still has not produced it. So now he has to fabricate quotes to sell this thing to the American people because he can't sell it on the substance.
And in addition, now they're saying, well, because we don't have the proof that we want of the quid pro quo, then they're hiding it.
Oh my gosh.
So here we have Clinton, who is going on a book tour, but Tale of Gutsy. I mean, it's only 10 seconds. There was many more I'm not playing.
Okay.
So people think that she might be jumping into the race, but this 10 seconds of Hillary Clinton here.
Jane, it was like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. It was like...
So guess what? I guarantee you that most of those people did not actually want to recommend you.
Well, and I also guarantee you that a lot of those votes were fraudulent.
Yeah. So then
you had fraudulent letters of recommendation.
So this is Donald Trump's attorney, Jay Sekulow from the ACLUJ.
Ukraine president brings up the issue of my colleague Rudy Giuliani in his conversation about corruption issues. And then the call, of course, is released. And then Adam Schiff does that Saturday Night Live routine that he pulled off yesterday, which not only should have been embarrassing for him, I'm not sure he was cognizant of the fact that it was embarrassing for him, but why didn't he just read the actual transcript?
I know.
Okay, and then let's read then we release the actual whistleblower complaint. Now, I've been practicing law for 40 years. It was hearsay. The whistleblower acknowledged, I have no firsthand knowledge of these events, but it was told to me by people, you could not get that admitted to court in the U.S. District Court in the Middle District of Georgia, but the Congress doesn't even bother reading that. What do? They do we have the Adam Schiff parody. You know what this is? Political theater. There is no there. There was no violation of law, rule, or regulation. And what you had yesterday was another faux investigation. What are they trying to do? Russia did not work out like they thought. The great Bob Mueller interview was going to be the big deal. It was going to be the moment.
They're trying to do. They're trying
it was a moment, all right.
They're trying to impeach the president.
Pelosi came out and literally said he can't win in 2020. That translates to we're going to do whatever we can, legal or illegal, to make that happen.
Exactly. So here's a piece from Tucker last night.
2016, the FBI justified opening the Russia investigation, the one that hamstrung the first half of the administration and sucked all of the oxygen out of the city. They justified that based, remember, on Trump's campaign positions. They didn't like his publicly stated views on Russia. The views that voters, by the way, ratified when they elected Trump. But the intel community disagreed with his foreign policy views, so they tried to destroy him. That happened. That's not some defense of Trump. That's an observation of what happened.
Exactly.
And then 2 weeks after he took office, somebody decided to leak the president's phone calls with foreign leaders, the leaders of Australia and Mexico. Imagine that. Imagine trying to run the country when you can't even speak confidentially with your counterparts in other countries.
And they weren't even leaking them for any legal reason.
Right.
It doesn't help America. You may hate Trump. You should still be against that. But that kind of thing has been happening ever since. Well, that's an administrative coup d'etat. I mean, it's not overstatement to say that's what it is. A lot is at stake here. If these people whose names you don't know, who were never elected to anything, succeed in taking over the government and running things in real life, we're done. Our democracy won't recover. The president, not just this president, but future presidents, will be merely figureheads. They'll be beholden to a Praetorian guard of intelligence officials in Washington. If they defy the consensus in Washington...
We really did have a figurehead. And that's what they wanted with Hillary Clinton. That's what they had with George Bush. That's what they had with Bill Clinton. That's what they had with Bush Sr. This is the first time,
Comrade Michelle.
This is the first time that they've ever had a president that isn't a puppet that the intelligence agencies and the power and the globalists control.
That is precisely the problem.
That's why they're saying he can't win again, because he actually represents the American people.
Yes.
On any issue, they'll be sabotaged and hurt. That's what they're trying to do now. So Washington clearly wants to pretend that the 2016 election never happened. Okay, that's amnesia. But now they want to make sure that no future election will matter. And that's terrifying.
It is terrifying, okay? Now, when Donald Trump was elected, everyone said, "Niet, ni nada, no, we don't want any." Which is the only two phrases that I learned, except spasiba. Spasiba. Thank you.
We're Russian spies.
When we went to Russia.
Yeah.
As teenagers.
I began my career as a Russian spy at 11 years old.
Our uncle started big, giant American corporation over in Russia. He taught us no Russian. We begged, teach me Russian. He said, "Niet,
ni nada."
Ni nada.
Jim West says, Trump isn't a yes man. I could not agree more. Wicked Psych says, the Democrats that call for donations all say their goal is to be majority House, Senate, Executive Office, and Supreme Court so they can push through anything that they want.
So, I'm sorry, I can't help it with the accents today because of the Volodymyr Zelensky. The Ukrainian accent, the Russian is interchangeable. So you have here a Marky Levin, and he lays it all out just perfectly. Here we go.
I'm surprised he's still on Fox.
Put on your seatbelt, guys. This is the only part of the show you need to watch today.
Call him the great one for a reason.
I
Great
got you
one.
because I really can't.
All
hear.
right, just do your thing. Break it down from your perspective.
Well, we got a lot to cover. Short period of time. You know, after I watched this hearing, it's like waterboarding, by the way. I wrote this to myself. I said, when it comes to Trump, the Democrats and media are like drug addicts looking for their next fix. Their eyes are popping out of their head. The sweat beads are coming down their face.
It's true.
They raise their voices. They swing their hands. They become disgruntled and all the rest. They're really freaking out. Now, this is, we're told, August 12th.
That was a visual aid.
That's good.
The rogue CIA agent's complaint. It's dated August 12th. It's to Richard Burr in the Senate and Adam Schiff in the House. If the date is correct, that means Adam Schiff has had this for many weeks. First of all,
over a month.
As a practicing lawyer, I went through this. And I can tell you that a CIA agent who is a policy guy for Ukraine can't write something like this.
Yes.
This is a legal brief. This was vetted through lawyers, and I want to know who wrote this.
I do
want to
too.
know who participated in writing this.
Bring all the
I want to
participants
know
up.
who this
Firing
man
squad.
spoke to. Every single one of them. In the New York Times today, which of course runs cover for the Democrats and goes after the President of the United States, talking about a drug fix, they say today that this man's lawyer, who by the way worked for Schumer and Clinton, doesn't want the identity of this man known.
Of course they don't want his identity known. Schumer is the guy that said, you better watch out. CIA got 6 ways of Sunday to take you out. They be going 1, 2. They're on, what are they? Is this number 2? Is this number 3? We don't know. But the good news is they got 6 ways of Sunday. They got 7. So if we can get through all 7, maybe they will have gone through them all. We can do it, people. We can make it through 7 ways for Sunday. 6 ways of Sunday. That means 7. Okay. We can do it.
Bad, pal. Too late.
It's like doing those reps and you're just like, I can't make it. I just can't make it. You're like, Schumer said they got 6 ways of Sunday, 7 ways. Okay, how many we got? I don't know how much time we got left.
You want to impeach our president using this BS? We want to know all about your guy. And I love today's hearing where they wrap this guy in the whistleblower statute. Whistleblower statute? This guy could have been a homeless guy coming off the street talking to people. He knew nothing. Oh, I heard.
I know nothing.
He heard.
I see nothing.
People over at the White House who are monitoring the conversation and wrote notes about it were upset. He heard that. Isn't it funny that not a single one of the people with firsthand knowledge filed a whistleblower complaint? Not one of them. This guy files it. This guy is represented by Democrats. This guy files it. I want to know if Adam Schiff, the Democrat staffers, or any Democrats were involved in orchestrating this leak and coup campaign. Did it in Russia? Did it with Kavanaugh? It's the same damn thing. This is a rogue CIA agent. You know, people might say, but it's the CIA. Look what they did to the FBI. Look at this guy, Brennan, a complete reprobate. They exist. They're all...
Now, I got something for you. Okay, now I got good news for you because I believe that the Lord has given this man a perfect face. This is the look that all the villains have at the end of the movie when they're getting ready to go to prison right there, okay? It's permanently etched on his face by the Lord God Almighty. Now, I'm sure that at one point God gave him a chance to repent and God might have changed his face a little bit. But his permanent face is, I'm going to jail and I hate all of the good guys who are putting me in jail. He has the permanent, I'm going to prison right now face.
Right.
On his face, it's ready to go. It's teed up.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that the identification of not only the whistleblower will be revealed, but the person that leaked it to the whistleblower? Do you think we will find out who that is?
I don't think you're going to hear anything about people that he heard from. I do believe that they're saying that it has to be somebody they're saying that it's a CIA guy. There's only so many of them in that circle.
Okay.
So they can only whittle it down. They've got it whittled down to possibly just one guy.
Okay, so do you think that Trump will find out, or at
Yes.
least have his own suspicions of?
Oh, they'll know. He'll know. There's no
Good.
way. There's no way you can't know because there's only so many CIA guys. It's a very small circle who would know.
Who were there in listening to the conversation?
Well, and then he wasn't there, so he's on the outside. So it's like a little bit bigger circle, but like
I want to know who leaked it to that guy.
Right. Well, you're not going to hear that.
Do you think Trump will know?
You know,
I think that nobody did leak it. I think it was just kind of. I think he made it up. And maybe he got a hold of some transcripts. I don't know, but I don't think there was any.
Well, but Trump had said, "I want to know who in the room leaked it to that guy."
Right.
And so I'm just curious. I mean, so Trump, at least he said he thinks that somebody
overthrew the Iranian government years ago. The liberal Democrats were upset. When they overthrew Allende in Chile, a socialist Marxist, the Democrats were upset. When they tried to overthrow Castro, the Democrats were upset, and so forth and so on. But when they try to overthrow our president, they're whistleblowers. They're heroes.
Yeah.
They're courageous. Mr. Schiff, why don't you release 90 days of your phone calls, 90 days of your texts, 90 days of your emails? Because I know something, pal. You're a leaker. You're devious. Same with your staff.
Your piddle is all
Nancy
over the
Pelosi
floor, you little leaker.
went to the microphone and announced, like a dictator, we are going to begin official, formal, an impeachment inquiry, which of course she can't do. She's one, may I say, knucklehead out of 435 in the House of Representatives. She's from San Francisco. It doesn't work that way. Now, why, everybody, why would she do that before she got the transcript? Why? Because she had this, or she knew about it, the little rogue CIA operative. This document is 1,000 times worse than the actual transcript, which isn't even cited in this document because this rogue CIA agent never had this document. Now, they're trying to rewrite this document to try and get it to work with this document. The President of the United States phone call has nothing wrong with it. President of the United States. It's a long conversation. I notice in the media, they're kind of moving sentences around.
They are doing that.
Why don't you read the whole thing? Take 10 minutes, rather than attacking the president for your fix, and read the whole thing so the American people will hear it. But you won't do that. Why? Well, I have a question. Why shouldn't the President of the United States, in a conversation with the President of Ukraine, say, hey, look, would you take a look at this? We've had news reports. News reports. We've had entire books written about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Joe Biden obstructing justice in the Ukraine, blackmailing the Ukrainian government. President's supposed to sit there and act stupid? No, he says, you know what? Among 1,000 other things, you might want to look into this. Wow, that's an impeachable offense. Why is that? You now have 4 United States senators who did far more than that. 3 of them, Leahy, Menendez, and Durbin, who insisted that the Ukrainian government investigate our president. You had another one, Murphy, from Connecticut, who insisted that the Ukrainian government not invest Biden. How come they're not facing ethics complaints?
That's a good question.
How come they're not facing expulsion acts in the United States Senate? And finally, let me ask you a question. Where the hell are the Republican chairmen in the Senate? Why aren't they issuing subpoenas? Why don't they pretend they're Elijah Cummings or Jerry Nadler or Schiff for that matter? I know it's an ugly thought, but issue your 100 subpoenas. Go after their bank accounts.
Yeah.
Go after their friends. Go after their relatives. Go after their accountants. Go after their records. And if they don't give them, and that goes for you too, Biden. And if they don't go for it, hold them in contempt. That's it.
All right, so Leah, could you pull up really quickly that Star Wars thing? So Lancer737 says something interesting that maybe I wouldn't have noted unless Leah had showed me this last night. And he says, have you ever noticed when something bad happens, there always is a new Star Wars trailer or a Marvel comic trailer? I think that they do that to distract people. Now, if you're not into that sort of thing and you may think to yourself, that's bogus, well, guess what? Almost every other person in the United States is a Star Wars fan and a Marvel's fan. I mean, it's massive. And the people that they're trying to appeal to are, right? And so I think that you are onto something here because
this was released
by the New York Times. If you've never seen Star Wars, every Star Wars movie begins with something like this. Leah is going to make sure the volume is low and then read this out loud to you.
Not the whole thing.
Well, no, just the beginning of whatever you're going to start with.
A long time coming for a White House far, far from reality. Trump. Episode 45. The last straw. Chaos has engulfed the Republic. For 3 years, Trump and his allies have ushered in the obliteration of moral norms for personal gain, even though our YouTube channel has been demonetized. But now the president has launched a fresh assault on fair elections, the crowning glory of the American democracy, which is exactly what they're doing, trying to disfranchise millions of people's votes. To restore some semblance of the order to the universe, Nancy Pelosi has announced an official impeachment inquiry into the president's abuse of power, impressing a foreign government to investigate his political rival. While the Congress of the Republic scrambles, the citizens of the galaxy reflect on a few of Trump's previous actions, and then it goes on and on and on.
So I think that you're definitely onto something there in that they do things to distract people from what's really happening. They want to be able to do this impeachment process and just kind of, get everyone else to back and support them and get behind them.
So I'm going to give you a little history lesson here, and it's going to be very short. Russia and the Ukraine do not get along. They are enemies.
And that was on your Twitter, right? You tweeted that out. Mm-hmm. It's on Leah's Twitter.
Government to interfere in our elections. And here it is wrong for any foreign government to interfere in our elections. And here you have the President of the United States asking for that. So it is, again, now we're engaged in a cover-up of that, but the cover-up of the cover-up, two wrongs do not make a right. And the President's going to have to answer that, and they know how wrong it is. So it's wrong for, as we saw with the Russian interference. And by the way, I think Russia has a hand in this, by the way. Mm-hmm. But we saw with the Russian disruption of our election last time.
She just said she think Russia working with the Ukraine, working with Trump.
Hang on, though, because look at what they have put this. Pelosi, president used taxpayer dollars to shake down the leader of another country. MSNBC, Leah standing in front of their logo there, has put that out as if it's a fact. Yeah, they're kind of saying that Pelosi said it, but by putting it here, exclusive, they are literally saying that is the title, that is what has happened. They have already, in the court of public opinion, found Trump guilty, and instead it should say Biden admits to using taxpayer dollars to shake down Ukrainian government from not prosecuting his drug addict son that was taking $50,000 a month in payment. That's what it should have read. Instead, they turn it. This is like an alternate universe.
Well, and I'm going to tell you what. This is our time to say I'm glad that you're here, but this is why YouTube and Facebook and Twitter have you have a little something on your eye, a little fuzzy. Anyways, why they have censored and shut down so many YouTube channels. Yeah. Because all of this stuff would have had the kibosh put on it. I don't see it. What's gone? Had Alex Jones still been on the internet. Yeah. He was, oh my gosh. He's so smart. And he really is. I'm not just saying that because we've been on a show.
A couple times.
I'm not just saying that because he is really, really intelligent and he really doesn't know what's going on. And he's been saying since Trump was elected, there are people, rogue agents inside the CIA, inside the FBI, and there's a coup against Trump. And he's been saying it, and he's been saying it, and he's been saying it. And he had sources in the government telling him these things, whispering things in his ear, whispering things in Roger Stone's ear. And that's why they went after Flynn. They went after Stone. They have gotten everybody out that they can. They're shutting us down on the internet. And that is why I'm telling you guys that we are at this place where it is just like trying to get, we're hoping, you're not, trying to hope that the Senate, which may or may not do anything to try. Won't. They could. We have a Republican-owned Senate. They could put the kibosh on this yesterday. Yeah. Okay, they have more power than the House. Right. They could issue 1 million subpoenas. They could issue bank accounts. They could just destroy everyone. But they don't have the guts. They don't have the talent. They don't have the smart. They don't have the will. The Senate, to be in the Senate, you have to be way more corrupt than being in the House. So they're cushy job. They're cushy, taking bribes and all this kind of stuff going on, so they're not going to do anything. Even I don't want to take your hopes down, but even Lindsey Graham, who is kind of pretending to be pro-Trump now, he's as swampy as swamp can all get out. Yeah. There's a few guys in there. Rand Paul, but even he has his voice stifled, and a lot of these guys think that they're above Trump, and Trump's blah 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 blah. So they don't mind if the ship goes down, because they would rather go back to the let's just hate on Obama and pretend, and then laugh about it and go out to dinner, right? And just whittle away at Americans' liberties. Both parties are about whittling away Americans' liberties. And especially in the Senate. So I don't expect much from the Senate. However, you do have a couple people that I believe, with the power of God, have been put into a place, like William Barr. Yeah. And maybe even this Horowitz guy, who the Horowitz, remember, did refer James Comey up for a criminal referral. Exactly. The DOJ declined because I think that they're waiting for more. And as Jesse Waters said earlier in our program, he's like, you guys, they're trying to get ahead of the snowball of indictments and things that will actually come down.
And why haven't they come down yet, though? I'm very impatient. Well, it's been 3 years.
Not for William Barr. It's just been
you're right.
in there for a little bit. Horowitz has been in there for a little bit. So yeah, it's Mueller's investigation just stopped. Yeah. So that these guys could start. I mean, seriously. So I fully expect people to be held accountable. However, when I showed you guys a couple last week or a few nights ago, when I said, or was it even Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. Plead my cause, O Lord, with them who fight, with those who strive with me. Read Psalm 35 and pray it out loud. It's the same psalm that our founders read to each other. That a minister read to Congress as they're crafting our new government. And we're at a place where we need God to step in.
So Tom asks, do you have a video about Greta Thunberg? Because I might have missed it. Yes. We covered that extensively on Wednesday. So you can go back and watch.
And we did more on that like last Friday.
Yeah, but I think Wednesday's show was pretty. Yeah, I think we did it. Yeah, you're probably right.
I think
Friday.
Crazy
probably talked about
Friday.
It on Sunday too, but I think last Friday's show and this past Wednesday we did a program.
We really covered it on Friday.
And I think Patriot Gallery probably broke it down and put it in a segment that you can watch by itself. All you need to do is go to Mass Faith 3, our channel, and go to the videos there. Just click on videos, and then Patriot Gallery has it.
All right, so the Democrats aren't being honest. Are you ready for this?
Conversation with the president, the new president of Ukraine, was perfect. There was no quid pro quo. There was nothing. It was a perfect conversation.
Well, if that's the case, then why doesn't the president simply release the transcript of that call?
I'm calling the president to release the transcript of the call.
He says he said nothing inappropriate, so why not release the transcript?
If the president's call was totally appropriate, as he claims, why not release a transcript of the call? The only way to put this story to bed is to release the transcript.
This could all be cleared up if they release it.
Release the transcript first. That'll help clear some things up. Release the transcript of the conversation. Congressional Democrats, Joe Biden, others, all calling for the transcript of this call to be released.
Yes. Directly to the breaking news now. At this moment, the Trump administration is releasing what the president describes as the transcript.
What he describes as the transcript. It is the transcript.
Investigation. The big thing that everybody was talking about was that there was a quid pro quo. There is no explicit quid pro quo. That language or even that suggestion exists nowhere in this document.
The president did not say, investigate Joe Biden if you want your money.
There are not multiple references, as widely reported, to the former vice president.
Is this a big bowl of nothing?
I don't see a tie to the money.
People we talked to said the president didn't make any remarks about aid, and he doesn't. It was actually President Zelensky of Ukraine who first brought up outrage to Rudy Giuliani.
I don't see 8 times Joe Biden being mentioned.
There's no quid pro quo. There's no explicit promise or threat here.
What we do have in the White House shows the president is right.
There's plenty here that helps the president on his defense.
And I don't see anywhere where there's a direct quid pro quo or any kind of pressure.
He's saying, I did not pressure Ukraine to investigate the Biden family in exchange for military aid. That is true.
It's another media disaster. I think this is one of the worst weeks
in the history of the fake news media. You have been wrong on so many things.
And, okay, so let's talk about the positive right now, because that's really positive as well. And while we're talking about that, you know, Eric Trump came out and, well, both Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump have come out and said, listen, keep doing it. Because the more you keep, do you know how they have raised millions and millions and millions of dollars in, like, you know, 48 hours, 72 hours for Trump's campaign? Then they are literally handing Trump. Do you know how much money Trump put into his first campaign? Like, very, very, very little. Okay. Now, the power of suggestion is a very, very powerful one. So if he starts doing ads like that on television and having the money to really campaign with ads, which he really didn't do the first time and still won, they're handing Trump the election in 2020, which is, and so it's interesting because they think that the impeachment is the only way to stop him from getting elected, but they're not going to be successful in impeaching him, and so they can't stop him from getting elected.
And
they're just making it worse. It's going to be a landslide.
And this came out in mainstream media that not only is Trump leading Biden in the polls, which puts Warren, Elizabeth, communist socialist Warren, in the front of Bernie, because people don't like angry Bernie. They see Elizabeth Warren as a little less angry.
Right.
I don't know how much I appreciate this, but guess what? There are a lot of really wealthy banker Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And Elizabeth Warren has said she's going to go after the banks. She's going to go after the CEOs, and she's going to just go into people's bank accounts and take a 2% wealth tax at a certain rate, as in millions of dollars or whatever. And she will just take 2% of what you have because she doesn't think you should have that much.
Right.
So she's just going to go in and take it. Okay.
Right.
Now, there are a lot of people on the Democrat side that say, whoa, whoa, whoa. We signed up to take other people's money. But like when we are able to go around the taxes and the tax loopholes.
Right.
You guys have helped us craft these tax loopholes. Kansas would tell you real estate is the tax loophole haven, and they wrote the laws to make it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can keep rolling over your cash.
Sure.
Anyways, so these people have said, we will not back Warren. One, we'll either sit out or we're going to back Trump. Okay, so that's going to be huge coming 2020. That's I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
And as far as he raised $13 million just on this, he's got a $13 million bump since the impeachment proceedings.
Well, and Bernie always steals votes from the Democratic candidate. So regardless of whether he even bows out or not, people are going to vote for Bernie Sanders just for the heck of it, because of their conscience.
So if Trump keeps doing ads like this 30-second ad and he puts them on TV, this could be huge. This has already had almost 2 million views on Twitter. Ready?
Joe Biden promised Ukraine $1 billion if they fired the prosecutor investigating his son's company.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
But when President Trump asks Ukraine to investigate corruption, the Democrats want to impeach him, and their media lapdogs fall in line. They lost the election. Now they want to steal this one. Don't let them.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
That is
Joe Biden promised Ukraine $1 billion.
So good. So good. All right, so I'm going to give you Kellyanne Conway here on Nancy Pelosi.
People were talking about impeaching this president before he even got inaugurated. And now they're getting their wish. Nancy Pelosi finally capitulated to her angry mob. At 1 p.m. on Tuesday, she told the Atlantic Festival, pull it, everyone. No, we need an investigation first. We're not close to impeachment. We need an investigation first. A couple hours later, she does the worst thing a woman in power can do, which is she just changes her mind because the men around her said, change your mind. We need an impeachment. She did that without seeing the transcript of the call, the memo of the call. That you seem to don't like what's in there.
Are you saying she was intimidated by
Clearly.
him?
And when something happened, I don't know what she had for lunch, an equivocation sandwich. I mean, at 1 o'clock she said, we're not going to do that. At 4 o'clock she had a call and changed her mind and went out there with a conclusion in search of evidence. You know there is no high crimes and misdemeanors. That's why I think people are getting worried. And by the way, If this is the way Congress wants to spend their time, then I guarantee you the American people who are wise and smart people, God bless them all, they will see it. They will see what's not getting done. They will see no drug pricing, no getting health care for the 29 million Americans who 9 years after Obama Biden care passed don't have it. They will see no infrastructure. They will see no fixing the TV parian floors. They will see nothing to keep this Trump economy humming along. That's why he has to do it himself.
Boom.
And there you go.
All right, so here is a protester who blows up at a Joe Biden rally. Woohoo.
And, you know. No. Let him go. Let him go. No. Let him go. Let him go. And
so that happened today.
So what that is referring to is that Biden is covering up his own indiscretions.
Yeah, he's a predator.
He's
creepy Joe Biden. He's creepy Joe Biden. Have we forgot about that? The hair sniffing guy?
Not me.
All right, so this is John Voight, and I normally don't.
I really can't stand John Voight, to be honest, but it's okay.
Play actors things, but just watch.
War. This is war against truths. This is a war against the highest noble man who has defended our country and made us safe and great again. Let me stand with our president. Let us all stand with our President Trump in a time of such evil words trying for impeachment. This is a crime that the left are trying to force. This is a disgrace by such ignorant followers that have no truth of what truly has been brought back to our country. We have gained greatness. We have gained jobs. We have gained more than any president has promised. This radical left are destructive. Their codes of what is supposed to be are corrupt with lies, deceits, and anger. And we ask why. We ask, how can a human being have such anger toward the greatness of our country's glory? I'll tell you why. Because for so long their anger has been growing, and with such deep pain, with no open heart of loving and seeing the truth. The truth of what truly matters is the productivity of what was promised, and what we, the American people of the United States, were promised and have received. And what does the radical left do for such greatness? They want to destroy. They want civilization to be run like a corrupt ring.
True.
I say, stand now with Trump. Let truth prevail. And may God show all the truth. That we are truly a nation stronger because of our president. The left are afraid, for their power is lessening with every deal that is accomplished by Donald Trump. In the name of God and his power for this nation, let us stay strong and without such evil among us. God bless.
So that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, that was
and
very powerful.
Franklin Graham actually had something similar, and so a prayer for our country. And so I wanted to share that with you. So we are going to move on from Trump impeachment craziness to another craziness where Tom Homan has been, he's acting ICE director, I believe. He's trying to stop sex trafficking. He's trying to stop, drug trafficking. He's trying to stop the Mexican cartel. And he had some words with Representative Jayapal, who is trying to say that ICE is hurting people, harming people, and should be shut down. So just watch.
People, half of what was removed last year, there was no hearings on that. So this is about transparency. Let's be factual about it.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Since you did address some comments at me, I'll just say that I didn't like it under the Obama administration either. In fact,
but be honest with the American people. You can't point out faults in the Trump administration when it happened under the Obama administration. That's dishonesty. It's pathetic and it's sad.
Mr. Homan, I control the time and I am the chair.
to make us small because you want to hear
Woman of the committee. Thank you for respecting that. I didn't like it under the Obama administration, and I'll remind you, Mr. Homan, that you also testified before Congress in support of the Obama's priorities enforcement program before the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 19th, 2016, which had a very different approach.
Well, can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course not.
And I want to give you some time, but I do want to ask one quick question, and I want to make one quick statement. I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds, and I yield to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get to go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one witness, one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
Wow. Good job. Love that guy.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was pretty awesome. Okay, so on to General Flynn here for a second. This is General Flynn's lawyer, Sidney Powell, with a little bit of the update here.
Well, Judge Sullivan has set a briefing schedule for us. My next brief is due the 22nd. The government's brief is due Tuesday. And then there's going to be a hearing on November 7th, which should be very interesting because the government has been hiding for more than 2 years evidence that clears him of charges.
No, you don't tell me the government would do that?
Yes. In fact, they did it even before he left the White House. There was a memo dated January 30th exonerating him of being an agent of Russia. And they had cleared him of the Logan Act issue, which they knew was preposterous to begin with, and they had cleared him of lying to the FBI agents, so there was no reason for him to have left the White House.
Unbelievable.
But they didn't tell the president that.
Well, of course not.
No.
November 7th, how many reasons do you have that would be exculpatory for General Flynn?
There were 40 different categories of evidence that I've asked for, that I will be briefing in full. And the hearing should be very interesting since Judge Sullivan is the one who threw out the conviction of Ted Stevens and then turned the investigation on the Department of Justice for hiding evidence.
So, my prayer is that come 2020, General Flynn goes marching into that White House as chief of staff or chief general or whatever.
So great. That would be epic. Yeah. I love this lady. Flynn's lawyer really knows her stuff. She has that southern accent, which makes her sound, you know, I don't know, soft, but she's not. She is incredibly, incredibly hard. Stuart the Brit says, may I just say, which will get me into some trouble, I'm sure, do not let women into top positions in anything, referring to the, whatever her name was, Jay LaPaul or whatever her name is. Look at them in the British Parliament. Now, I actually would like to agree with you. When you have evil, corrupt women, I think that they are almost more evil and corrupt than men. I mean, they are just, not only are they incompetent, but they are sniveling, conniving. I mean, they're just, it's all over the Song of Solomon, or not Song of Solomon, but Proverbs. And
add that into hormonal, and it's just a mess.
It is. But when you have a woman like we just saw Flynn's lawyer, the proper women in place,
like a Deborah in the Bible.
Like a Deborah in the Bible, they're unstoppable.
Right.
Okay. So I will hand it to you that a lot of women in these positions should not be there on the basis of them just being a woman. I'll say it.
Yeah. So here we have sparks fly at assault weapons ban hearing on Capitol Hill. Ex-cop vows she will not comply. A former police officer made a bold proclamation during a congressional hearing Wednesday regarding a proposed assault weapons ban. She would not comply. Deanna Mueller, who served in the Tulsa Police Department for 22 years and is the founder of a gun advocacy group, the DC Project, was among the witnesses at the House Judiciary Committee hearing. The session on an otherwise contentious issue flew largely under the radar amid the Trump-Ukraine controversy and Democrats' impeachment push. But reflecting the gun control...
And Sweden, all the women leaders in Sweden let all the women in Sweden be raped.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Swedish
I'm with
feminist
government.
Yeah.
Renewed calls for strict laws. Mueller said that this woman's cop said that such a ban would force lawful gun owners to either give up their arms or become criminals. So I'm going to play her here. I'm going to try to make her big. I'm going to attempt to play her. We're gonna refresh the page here.
Again, another strong woman.
Yeah.
They are in existence.
Yeah.
You're watching too, I think I can say.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting before committees though, being this strong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fewer than 1 in 50 of all prisoners that were incarcerated for a violent crime obtained a firearm from a local retail source and possessed, carried, or used it during the offense for which they were imprisoned. Among the 287,400 prisoners who had possessed a firearm during their offense, more than half either stole it, found it at the scene of the crime, obtained it off the street, or from the underground market. That's the reality of where people get guns who use them to commit crimes. About 1.3% of prisoners obtained a gun from a retail source. 1.3%. That's the reality of where people get guns, regardless of what kind of gun they have. Studies have indicated very clearly that higher rates of gun ownership are not associated with higher rates of violent crime. Switzerland and Israel have much higher gun ownership rates than the United States, but experience far fewer homicides and have much lower violent crime rates than many European nations with strict gun control laws. Canada is ranked 12th in the world for the number of civilian-owned guns per capita and reports one of the world's lowest homicide rates. But even then, some provinces have a higher homicide rate than United States with less restrictive laws and higher rates of gun ownership. The Brady campaign against gun violence ironically makes clear this point. Gun freedom states that score poorly, like New Hampshire, Vermont, Idaho, and Oregon, have some of the lowest homicide rates. Conversely, gun control states that received high scores, like Maryland and Illinois, experienced some of the nation's highest homicide rates. Legally owned firearms are used for lawful purposes much more often than they are used to commit crimes or suicide. In 2013, President Barack Obama ordered the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to assess existing research on gun violence, and this is what they found. According to the CDC, self-defense can be an important crime deterrent. Semi-automatic rifles, such as the AR-15, are commonly used in self-defense, especially in homes of law-abiding citizens, because they're easier to control than handguns, more versatile than handguns, and offer the advantage of up to 30 rounds of protection. Here are some examples of when an AR-15 has been used to save lives. On Oswego, Illinois, 2018. A man with an AR-15 intervened to stop a neighbor's knife attack and cited the larger weapon's intimidation factor as a reason why the attacker dropped the knife and ended the attack, saving the purported victim. Catawba County, North Carolina, 2018. A 17-year-old successfully fought off 3 armed attackers with his AR-15, saving his own life. Houston, Texas, 2017. A homeowner survived a drive-by shooting by defending himself with his AR-15. Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 2017. A homeowner's son killed 3 would-be burglars with an AR-15 in what was found to be justifiable self-defense. Texas, 2013. A 15-year-old boy used an AR-15 during a home invasion to save both his life and that of his 12-year-old sister from a violent armed intruder.
Wow.
Rochester, New York. Home intruders fled after facing an AR-15. Ms. Mueller, you served as a law enforcement officer during the time that the previous assault weapon ban was in place from 94 to 2004. Did you see any impact anecdotally on your safety as a law enforcement officer or on those you were sworn to protect and serve?
Got me. I have previously testified that I did not see any before, during, or after, and I'm listening to these numbers, and I would like to follow up on the 70% less likely to occur during assault weapons ban. I don't understand that, and I don't understand why we would have allowed it to sunset if it were an effective policy.
Yeah, well, it was contested, and as I reported, the CDC did its own study and didn't come up with the same conclusions. So, is there anything else that you heard today you'd like to respond to?
Oh, there's a lot.
Well, press on then.
I have 26 seconds.
Yep.
Okay. I would like to, Congressman Richmond's already gone, but the 5.7, the FN 5.7, a little bit of education there. It shoots flatter. As a woman, it's less recoil. I love this little gun. It's not a 57, it's a 5.7. And it shoots flatter so I can be more accurate at longer distances. And with the minimal recoil, and it holds 30 rounds for a pistol, that's good. It's got kind of a weird grip, but that allows me to protect myself better. This is probably, and it does have knockdown power, yes. But my goal here is to educate people. We are law-abiding, responsible gun owners, and please don't legislate the 150 million people just like me into being criminals. Like, it has happened. You've already done it. The legislation on bump stocks, I was a bump stock owner, and I had to make a decision. Do I become a felon, or do I comply? And like that gentleman that just got escorted out, I will not comply with the assault weapons ban.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Wow.
I will not comply with an assault weapons ban.
Now, she just said that in front of everybody, and I'm so proud of her because, I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of guts to say that.
Miller and others at the hearing focused on the practicality of a ban, pointing out that they claimed were mainly cosmetic differences between weapons such as an AR-15 and a standard semi-automatic hunting rifle. The issue was raised by Heritage Foundation senior legal policy analyst Emmy Swearer when Representative Jim Sensenbrenner went down the line of witnesses asking if they believed hunting rifles should be banned if they are semi-automatic. Swearer said no, stating that there was no difference in the mechanics or function of an assault weapon or a semi-automatic hunting rifle. Dayton, Ohio Mayor Nan Whaley, who recalled the recent mass shooting in her city, did not give a definitive answer to Sensenbrenner's question, nor did Dr. Alejandro Rios Tovar, a trauma surgeon who treated victims of the attack in El Paso, Texas. Charlottesville, Virginia Chief of Police Rachel Brackney indicated she was in favor of a ban on any weapon that could be used to hunt individuals. I listened to her say that. It was really weird. So pretty much, you could pretty much hunt a person with a bow and arrow. I mean, like, seriously. Representative David Cicilline from Rhode Island countered the idea of a hunting rifle ban by referring to his assault weapon ban bill. Cicilline said that more than 200 weapons are exempt from the bill, so there is really no issue of eliminating hunting rifles. Swearer also testified against the idea that law-abiding citizens have no need for weapons like AR-15, recalling how her mother, a gun novice, had difficulty accurately firing a handgun at a shooting range, but was much more effective when she used an AR-15. An AR-15, if you've never shot one, and it's very nice little scope on it, and you shoot, and you're literally looking through the scope or whatever you might have on it. A lot of people have scopes on it, and you look at it, and you're just like, I'm shooting everything. It's right there in the middle. Handguns could be all over the place. A regular rifle could be all over the place, but that AR-15, here's the thing: you're going to shoot, and you're going to be really accurate with it.
Right.
And that's what you want, whether you're hunting or whether you're defending yourself. You're going to be more accurate with an AR-15 than a handgun. A handgun, you'd be surprised. You get up there with that 9mm or something like that, and you could be like, you feel like you're dead on, and it's like not on. I personally, I'm not a sharpshooter at all. Okay. But But with that AR-15, people who aren't good with guns, who aren't going to go to the range every day, they're going to be more accurate. And Jim Jordan says, as I read the Second Amendment, it doesn't say the right to bear arms shall not be infringed unless the gun has scary features. Swearer also noted that some features like barrel shrouds enhance the safety of a weapon for its user. This was Donald Trump on September 18th of this year. Dummy Beto made it much harder to make a deal, convinced many that Dems just want to take away your guns, will continue forward. Trump's focus when it comes to gun control has mainly been on background checks. And as Thomas Massie went on the Hill and said that the background checks have... let me see if I can find it, because the way he said it...
So while you're looking for that, I have a couple of thoughts here. You know, there are so many things in this world that are more likely to kill people. Cars being one, texting and driving being one, different diseases, and also suicide rates among young people. You're more likely to die from suicide than you are from a mass shooting. And there are many things in society that contribute to the depression of teens that causes suicide that the left is guilty of. One of those things happens to be all of this preposterous fear-mongering that they're doing about climate change. A lot of these kids, it puts them spiraling into depression, and then they just go and kill themselves because I might as well help. I can do one last noble thing. I can save the planet if I'm not here, because I'm reducing the population. We're seeing these kids struggle with depression because they don't know what their gender is, because we've got this gender dysmorphia that is ingrained in them as children. Moms are encouraged not to stay at home, to go and seek a career. Kids are encouraged to go to public school. All of these things create depression in teenagers and in adults that cause them to commit suicide. And that's just one example. They want the drugs to be able to keep coming up from the southern border. And we have people dying from heroin overdoses left and right, and they don't want to stop it. All they want to do is focus on gun bans for like mass shootings that affect like a few hundred people.
Right.
I mean, seriously, this is absurdity, and they are wasting so much time when they could actually be putting policy forward and passing laws that will save lives.
So I found it. He says in 2010 there were 72,000 NICS background check denials of gun purchases, but there were only 13 federal convictions. What did that tell you? Most were false denials. We aren't enforcing even existing laws.
To stand up for the Second Amendment than anyone in the United States Congress, Thomas Massie from Kentucky. There have been a lot of proposals here in this Capitol recently. I think we need a waiting period. We need a waiting period for legislators to cool down, because they are introducing legislation that would not solve the problem. They would make the problem worse. What I have here in my hand is a 2010 report. This is the last year there was any study of any kind by the DOJ on whether anybody actually got prosecuted for trying to buy a gun and failing the NICS background check system. Now, why did they stop producing this report? I asked Inspector General Horowitz that today. He's going to look into it. What does this report show about background checks, which are supposedly the panacea? If we just had more of them, we could solve all these problems. Wrong. There have already been two bills. There was the NICS Improvement Amendments Act, and then there was the Fix NICS Act, and now they're trying to do universal background checks. This report, and I'll tell you why they don't publish it anymore, is because what's in it. This report shows there were 72,000 denials. How many people were prosecuted? 30. 30 prosecutions out of 72,000 denials and 13 convictions. What does that tell you? It tells you one of two things. Either the people in this Capitol are not serious about prosecuting law offenders, or, which is what we all actually know, those 72,000 denials, a vast majority of them were false denials where law-abiding citizens were denied their constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Why in the world would we expand something that doesn't work? That's the question I have for my colleagues here in Congress. And I yield back to Jenny Beth.
I love Thomas Massey so much.
Why would we do something that doesn't even work?
Wow.
So I love this article here. When it comes to Russian Gate and the Ukrainian Gate, the Democrats have set a dumpster fire on their own garbage barge. Okay, when it comes to what happened with this whole Ukrainian thing, this boomerang thing, Biden, Ukraine, quid pro quo. In the meantime, is there any question that Ukraine Gate has put the kibosh on Joe Biden's political career? The notorious video of Mr. Biden bragging on his shakedown of then President Poroshenko has been seen by everyone over the age of 5 in the United States. Hillary must be loving it as she makes the rounds on her latest listening tour. Listen to this, Hillary. Lost in your wicked daydreams of riding to the Democratic Party's rescue for yet another shot at the White House, your reputation will not survive the blizzard of indictments coming down on your partisans. And one of these bills might have your name on it. And so go ahead and keep putting, keep damaging yourself over and over again. We'll see how that ends up. So a couple more things here before we go. Here we have MSNBC, mainstream media. They interviewed this guy, and I think they wish they didn't, in New Hampshire. A New Hampshire voter told MSNBC on Friday that House Democrats are crazy for pursuing an impeachment inquiry. Are you ready?
Got a nice little deal for his boy and got a whole bunch of money for him and his firm, and nobody said nothing about it. But all of a sudden, Trump opens his mouth and says something, and oh my God, impeach him. I think some of these people in Congress should just get back to doing their job instead of trying to what they've been doing for 2 years. And we have people that are living in this country that are depending on them doing stuff for us, and they're not doing anything for us.
Can you see that Democrats are, though, moving forward with an impeachment inquiry?
They're crazy.
They're crazy.
Wow.
So that was such a breath of fresh air.
From New Hampshire, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Cancel culture, just kind of to let you know where things are at with a lot of in the world. What cancel culture is when you go back, you find somebody did something that was wrong or morally inept, and then they're gone. They're done. You've ruined their whole life, right? So the Des Moines Register reporter, he got a Anheuser-Busch to cancel this Carson King, who raised a bunch of money for a hospital. I don't know why he decided to look him up. But it was really kind of a sad situation all around. Anheuser-Busch cancels Carson King over high school tweet. Carson King raised over $1 million for a children's hospital and has now been canceled by Anheuser-Busch over something he tweeted as a high school sophomore. Less than 2 weeks ago, King was a hero after he turned a moment of fleeting fame into a movement that raised $1.14 million for the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital.
Wow.
On September 13th, King, who's now 24, was featured on ESPN College Game Day holding a sign that read, "Bush Light Supply Needs Replenished, Carson King." Bush Light Supply needs to be replenished. The national attention resulted in donors from all over the country contributed to King's Venmo account. Rather than keep the money, King said he would donate it to the Children's Hospital. This is when Anheuser-Busch and Venmo agreed to match his donation. So here's a young man turning a goof that could have personally enriched him into a legitimately good thing. Enter the media, specifically the Des Moines Register. For whatever sadistic reason, the Register decided to do a background check of a private citizen thrust into the national spotlight, and lo and behold, what they uncovered were a couple of racially insensitive tweets King fired off when he was 16, when he was still a sophomore in high school. The paper contacted King to tell him they were going to run the story. Obviously worried about his reputation, King tried to go ahead of the scandal by releasing the following statement. It was just 10 days ago. I was a guy in a crowd holding a sign looking for beer money on ESPN Game Day. Since then, so much has happened, especially when I announced all of the money would be donated to the Stead Family Children's Hospital in Iowa City. Thousands of people have donated today, and the account has 1.14 million. Anyways, it's got $1 million in it. Much of this has happened thanks to social media. It has the power to bring people together for the common good. It can also make your life very public. And that is why I wanted to share with you that 8 years ago, when I was a sophomore in high school, I made some social media posts with my friends that quoted and referenced the show Tosh O. One of those posts was brought to my attention by a member of the media today, and I had no recollection of it. And rereading it today, 8 years later, I see it as an attempt of humor that was offensive and hurtful. I am so embarrassed and stunned to reflect on what I thought was funny when I was 16. I want to sincerely apologize. Thankfully, high school kids grow up and hopefully become responsible and caring adults. I think my feelings are better summed up by a post from just 3 years ago. Until we as people learn that racism and hate are learned behaviors, we won't get rid of it. Tolerance towards others is the first step, and he made that post in 2016. I am sharing this information tonight because I feel a responsibility to all people who have donated the money. I cannot go back and change, blah, 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 blah. Apparently the tweets, which are no longer available, compared black people to gorillas. The ever-gracious king later released a statement saying he was not angry at the Des Moines Register. He says, they have been nothing but kind in all their coverage, and I appreciate the reporter pointing out the post to me. I want everyone to understand that this was my decision to publicly address the post and apologize. I believe it was the right thing to do. And immediately, those profiles encourage... at Anheuser-Busch cut all ties with King, and the company says it will still match his contribution. King says he will still donate the money, and then the beer company, and then it goes back and forth and back and forth. And then, but guess what? In a fascinating turn of events that personifies the unforgiving woke culture, the Register piece ran, and the internet dug up a number of offensive tweets published by the reporter, who dug up the tweets, the offensive tweets on the good guy who raised the money. His name was Aaron Calvin. Aaron Calvin, who dug up the bad tweets, has now locked up his Twitter account, and the Register said it is aware of the tweets and is looking into them, and actually he has now
been fired.
He has been fired. Okay, so one of Calvin's tweets from 2012 reads, "Can I be a guest instructor at your theater camp teaching kids how to abuse substances and turn tricks?" He goes on to do a bunch of other things and uses an N-word.
You know,
so welcome to the future where this very reporter who was trying to be mean and cruel, the idea, you can tell that kind of anger, he's just... The children's hospital get $1 million, so you decide to look up and find something bad. You have to go searching for it. And he went through his tweets. I'm going to find something bad. I want to find something bad. And then he publishes it, and he does it because he's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's the bad one.
Well, that's good news, though, that, you know, that was some justice there. In the end, you know, that he tried to ruin this young kid's life and many other people. You know, by taking, like, popping a balloon in the whole thing. And then it's like, okay, guess what? We aren't pro Anheuser-Busch, okay? So we don't drink beer. I don't like...
But here's the thing.
Beer.
The answer to firing somebody over old tweets is not necessarily to fire somebody over old tweets.
No, exactly. But at the same time, the fact that he did get fired, I think, is justice. But what my point is... If you're going to just immediately, we live in this fast-paced world. Bam, 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 something happens, and we want to be the next two. So this kid does this sign, and then he says, I'm going to donate this money in Anheuser-Busch without doing any kind of research. All right, we're going to do this, and we're going to link with this kid, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to do that. Okay, great, fine. Okay, but you don't know anything about this kid. Even if it doesn't matter whether he posted anything on Twitter, you have to be able to stand by. Listen, regardless of whoever this person is, that's a good deed. We're going to stand by it. We're going to do it. We wanted to do it willy-nilly, fast, and get it out there. All right, then stand by that, because you can't just say, well, now that I find out that this person is, you know, whatever. If he was like a child predator or something, then okay, I can understand that. But a tweet that was racially insensitive when he was 16, I mean, give me a break. Stand by what you're going to do or don't do it at all.
So this is what the Des Moines Register had to say. It still doesn't get it. I'll discuss some of the steps in our decision-making later, but rest assured, we're examining all the processes with fresh eyes. In response to this week's conversations, we're focused on our policies for backgrounding individuals and stories, with particular attention to acts committed by juveniles and to the newsworthiness of that information years later.
Oh my gosh.
The shift in social media culture and how activities on those platforms reflect upon a person's newsworthiness in general.
Wow.
Our screening policy and social media vetting for employees. Some of you wonder why journalists think it's necessary to look into someone's past. It's essential because readers depend on us to tell the complete story.
Wow. You know
we
what?
Better get you. We better get you. We better get
I have some advice for everyone. Okay? Don't ever get in the limelight ever for anything ever. Because everyone has the tweet that they posted about the next door neighbor that they didn't like when they were 6 years old. And if that neighbor just so happened to be of a different skin color or religious affiliation or whatever, you will be found out. Everything that you have ever done, when you looked at your classmate's test to cheat on that test, that will be found out. Everything that you have ever done wrong in your life is going to be discovered. There is no hiding now. It's Big Brother. There is, I think, and imagine the people that actually have things to hide. Like, most of us don't, okay? Most of us have something really stupid in our closet. It's not even worth being in a closet. We just haven't cleaned it out lately.
Right.
But if you were, let's say, a former drug addict that cleaned up your life, got saved, loves the Founding Fathers, watches David Barton, wants to represent your country, okay? And you want to go and do that, now you can't. There is literally
I know.
zero chance for redemption in this world.
It's really sad. It's really sad.
Zero chance for redemption. I mean, it's ridiculous. And most people with something like this, it's stuff you don't even remember doing. So there's no way to come out from day one, was a drug addict, did this, and list it all. Okay, now will you elect me? And then somehow they're going to find the one thing you didn't disclose. And now you can't, your whole life is ruined because of a childhood mistake you made when you were 8.
So, on our next show, probably, I'm going to try to find this video that somebody did comparing. Somebody dug up a video from like the 90s where they had a young girl in the UN doing the same thing, talking about, I'm so afraid to go out in the sun because of the ozone layer. Remember the ozone layer and Aquanet and all that?
Right.
And she said the same exact things. You're doing this to me. You're stealing my childhood. And you're putting this on all our shoulders. And we're just 12 and 13-year-olds. And we're trying to change the world. And blah, 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 blah. And somebody put it side by side with Greta. But here's the thing. Climate activist Greta Thunberg's recent speech in the United Nations seemed to reveal a deeply troubled individual. She said her childhood was taken away from her by the looming threat of climate change, and she blamed world leaders for letting it happen. She has every reason to be upset, but she is directing her anger at the wrong people. The real culprit is the green catastrophe industry that manufactures crisis out of nothing. There's a kid, I think, in the UK who killed himself this week.
What did I just
from
say?
Climate change.
What did I just say? I just said it.
The critical ingredient in Thunberg's climate anxiety is her youth. Had she been older, she would have lived through so many false alarms that she would have grown numb and wary of green catastrophes. The older remember when former VP Al Gore declared the North Pole would be ice-free by 2015. People were told that snow would be a thing of the past. Instead, the Northern Hemisphere has seen record levels of snow. In recent years, it has snowed in the Sahara Desert in Saudi Arabia and even the Canary Islands, which is the same latitude as Miami, Florida.
Right.
And don't forget the polar bears. The melting Arctic was supposed to render this animal extinct. The population of 8,000 to 10,000 in the late 60s is only 25,000 and 30,000 remain today. So the polar bear population has increased.
Right. But what caused the ice age? I mean, seriously. The planet warms, it cools. It warms, it cools. It warms, it cools. We have this process that has been happening depending on your religious belief, and I will call it a religious belief, evolution versus creation. I mean, for thousands of years to millions of years. We know it's thousands of years, but they think millions, but it's been happening.
So in 88, a climate scientist named James Hansen scared the entire world by predicting the globe would warm 1 degree Celsius by 2018. In fact, the warming was less than half of that. And in the last 2 decades, the increases ground to a halt, giving rise to the so-called pause or hiatus in global warming. Those who are even older remember the acid rain scare.
Yeah.
All the trees were going to die because of the pollution from fossil fuels. The opposite happened. CO2 is plant food. And human emissions have been hungrily gobbled up by the plants, resulting in an unprecedented greening of the earth, especially in arid areas. All over the world, deserts are actually yielding vegetation. Very interesting there. Seniors may even remember the global cooling scare of the 70s. My mom lived through the 78 and 79. I would have thought it would have been climate change and that we were all going to die.
There was a blizzard here in Ohio in 78.
And it kept going on for like
79.
a couple months.
Yeah, it was like ridiculous.
It just kept going and going, and nobody could go anywhere. It was just crazy. Temperatures were plunging, and humans might have to cover glaciers with soot to stave off the coming ice age. In 1972, the Club of Rome predicted mass starvation and complete depletion of oil and other natural resources. It was so wrong that today environmentalists complain there's too much fossil energy left to explore. Green catastrophism is a never-ending story. Green activists try to scare people into submission, and the youngest and the most are the most vulnerable. I remember it as a kid, and beyond. And they actually, as a kid, I have to give them credit. They actually gave us things to do: reduce, reuse, recycle. Ain't nothing wrong with any of that. And they gave you hope, and it was like, okay, we can fix this, right? But instead, the people and the powers that be make more and more stuff. They want you to have more stuff, and they don't want you on a farm. And here's the thing: if you have two parents working, you're using twice as much fossil fuels. You're using twice as much natural resources, and they want the two parents working. It's you gotta shuttle your kid to daycare, and all these are using fossil fuels. And so rather than fix the problem, they're just like throwing band-aids up in the air and like, put this band-aid here, put this band-aid here, and then we have no band-aids for you. You're just gonna bleed out. We're all gonna die.
So here's my question, Leah. So if you were experimenting with climate manipulation, we know it's a real thing. We do know that is a fact. That is not contested by anyone.
And you can blame it on something else.
Okay, so if you were experimenting with climate manipulation, and you saw that it was affecting, like let's say in the north where all these cows were frozen and died, and it was awful, and you are seeing some places that are getting too hot or not enough rain or too much rain or whatever, the fires in California. Let's say you knew that your experimentation, which is highly classified, where you're doing it in other countries. It doesn't even have to be here in the United States. You're doing it in other countries, and so it's shifting weather patterns all the way here to the United States. If you had the chance to, I'm saying there's nothing nefarious going on other than you're just regular experimentation. You're not actually trying to do anything bad, but you are experimenting with the weather, and it is having an effect, and you don't want anybody to know about it.
Right.
What might you do?
I'm going to create something else. I'm going to create a boogeyman over here so that nobody's focused on what I'm doing.
And you would call it the climate crisis.
Right. So I believe that they are manipulating the weather and geoengineering things, and they're messing with the soils, and we could talk about that more and more and more. The problem is that the more that they talk about this, the less time we have to talk about the real issues.
Right.
But this is very interesting statistic here, chart from 1912. Climate-related deaths from droughts, floods, storms, wildfire, and extreme temperatures were at 500,000 at the turn of the century here. And I'm guessing from television newscasters and weathermen, it's down here to under 50. It's down here at like maybe 10,000, maybe 15,000 people. So, technology maybe giving people radio alerts where the weather's going to be, flash floods and things like that. So, and then maybe Sunday we'll talk about Pope Francis endorses essay trashing U.S. conservative Christians. Yay, Pope.
Oh, surprise there.
Alrighty, so there's our show for you. The climate alarmists have already killed one child committing suicide over climate change, many other children.
At least one. And
it's all
suicide, they maybe didn't leave a note.
Here's the thing. It's all been through AOC.
Yeah.
AOC is the voice of children thinking that they're going to die. You know what I mean? And she has blood on her hands, and she will continue to have blood on her hands, and we just have to pray to God to not let these kids be so brainwashed.
Exactly.
Oh, and I want to show you guys something. You're going to find it interesting. You guys want something to watch. I want you to see Lynette Zhang, our favorite monetary person, interview.
Financial mind. Ron Paul. Yeah, Ron Paul.
Yeah, so she got to interview Ron
Did you watch
Paul.
it? I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, they helped me water, so I took them around as I was watering. Let's see, it was here we go. It was just 2 days ago, fresh off the presses.
Let's take this one off.
Well, here, maybe you can put the link in the description and you can watch Ron Paul and Lynette. He says, we can't go back to the gold standard.
Can. C-A-N.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I just want, sometimes it sounds like can't. So, yes.
Tell him when we'll see him next.
We're going to see you next in 2 days on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless we're not here anymore because climate change. Unless literally the planet goes off its rocker or whatever has happened that is going to happen. If it can happen in 8.5 years, it can happen tomorrow.
That's
you
true.
know, and so we may not be here tomorrow. You may not be here tomorrow. You may be dead. Now, this is sarcasm. Leah's show was sarcasm as well.
Yeah. Mom wants me to put that link in. I don't know if you can do that too. I did a fun show on Monday. You guys are all going to want to watch it.
It's on Mass Faith 3 on YouTube.
What did I call it?
I'm so proud of the climate change kids.
I'm so proud of the climate change kids. If you guys need to laugh, if you guys want to know what the climate change kids are up to, it is, I'm going to let you guys know, it is sarcasm, but it's really funny, and I think you guys would get a kick out of that, so go watch that.
Wicked Sykes says, Leah's sarcastic video on climate was great. It actually really was enjoyable, and I wish we could get it out there, but it's, you know, it's really that good. Get Greta Thunberg on your show and interview her. I would love to have that young lady on our show. I don't think she'll come. I don't know why, but I just think that I don't know why she would.
And I would be nice to her.
All right, so we love you. God loves you. God bless. We do have a P.O. Box, 107 Milford, Ohio, 45150. We will read your letters on air. I know there are those of you that have things that you want to say because you send them to me in emails. Please just write them in a letter. I want to read your letters on air. So
it's
do
a
that.
Fun and a throwback.
We're on Instagram right now. It is, writing letters. It's important. So we're on Instagram now, Resistance Chicks, or my name, Michelle Svensson.
It makes it real. To like, you're real people, I'm a real person.
Exactly. And so does Instagram, I think, only because I'm posting pictures of our everyday life, which is really fun and enjoyable. So find us there on Facebook and Twitter. Leah's always on Twitter. I think you're less shadow banned.
I'm back up to being shadow banned again.
Because our video, it reaches more people. Like even today, we kind of maintained like 5 or 6, 7 people continuously throughout on Twitter. So thank you for being here on Periscope. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. You've got Saturday and Sunday. The weather here in Ohio is going to be great. I don't know about where you are.
Global warming.
It is. It's all global warming.
We're hitting record highs. Global warming.
Isn't it something? Yeah. I'm enjoying it because it's fall and we're able to enjoy our deck
at night when the temperatures
Oh my gosh. The temperatures drop so much that I have to wear like big footies and socks and sweatshirts when I sleep because I have the window open. But in the daytime, we're in sleeveless and shorts and sandals because it's so hot.
It's climate change.
It is. Yeah, it changes in 24 hours. It's incredible. I don't know. The world's going to come to an end. All right. We love you guys.
And God loves you. So God bless.
It's cold.